Imagine flying a night mission thinking you're invisible, only to realize the enemy already knows exactly where you are. That was the reality German bomber crews faced. Their aircraft were hidden by darkness, flying over silent coastlines and empty countryside. Yet Allied forces somehow kept finding them long before they reached their targets. For many crews, it felt like their position was being revealed by something they couldn't see, hear, or understand. And the truth behind that early detection became one of the most important developments of the entire air war. When the German night bombing campaign began, the Luftwaffe believed that darkness would protect their aircraft. Radar was still new, most nations had limited capability, and crews were trained to fly without lights or radio chatter. They expected British defences to struggle, but from the very first raids, something seemed off. British fighters were being directed with surprising accuracy. Anti-aircraft batteries were firing into the night sky with confidence instead of guesswork, and bombers were being intercepted far sooner than the Luftwaffe expected. German crews didn't realise that Britain had quietly built one of the most advanced early warning systems in the world. Long before radar became famous for its role in the Battle of Britain, a network of stations had already been watching the coastline. These stations didn't need searchlights, sound detectors, or patrols to find incoming aircraft. They used radio waves that bounced off metal targets in the sky, tracking distance and direction in real time. While the technology was still developing, it was far ahead of what most German crews believed possible. But radar alone didn't solve everything. The real strength came from the system built around it. Operators on the ground plotted incoming aircraft on large boards, updating their paths every few seconds. As the data moved inland, the information was passed to control rooms that coordinated fighter responses. These rooms knew which pilots were ready, which squadrons had fuel, and exactly where enemy aircraft were heading. To German bomber crews, it looked like British fighters were appearing out of nowhere. In reality, they were being guided with precise instructions from the ground. German crews also struggled to understand how accurate British anti-aircraft guns were becoming. They assumed the guns were firing blindly, using guesswork and rough timing. But the truth was different. Radar-guided artillery was slowly emerging, giving crews on the ground exact information about altitude and range. This meant gunners didn't need to see the bombers. They only had to follow the numbers. As the system improved, bomber crews noticed that bursts of fire were getting uncomfortably close, even when visibility was zero. There was another factor that German crews underestimated: sound plotting. Before radar reached full effectiveness, teams on the ground used specialized equipment to track the noise of aircraft engines. With practice, they could estimate direction and speed with surprising accuracy. This wasn't perfect, but when combined with radar information, it created a layered system that made night skies far less safe than crews expected. British night fighter tactics also played a major role. Fighters were guided into position quietly, often flying with lights off and radios silent. German bomber crews would sometimes see nothing at all until a sudden burst of gunfire appeared from behind them. The combination of radar guidance and disciplined flying created the illusion that British fighters had supernatural awareness. In reality, it was a coordinated strategy that kept improving throughout the war. As German crews tried to adapt, they realized they were dealing with something more advanced than basic searchlights or random interceptions. They attempted to change flight paths, lower altitude, and fly in tighter formations, but each adjustment seemed to be countered. Britain's detection network adapted quickly, and the accuracy of interceptions only grew. For many bomber crews, the night sky shifted from being their safest cover to one of their most unpredictable dangers. The most surprising thing was how long it took for the Luftwaffe to truly understand the scale of Britain's early warning system. Radar wasn't just a single invention. It was a framework that connected stations, plotting centres, fighter bases, and artillery networks. It allowed Britain to see deep into the night and guide its defences with an efficiency that few countries had achieved at the time. German bomber crews didn't know they were flying into a system designed to track them from the moment they crossed the coast. In the end, the reason German crews could never understand how the Allies found them at night came down to one simple truth. They underestimated how far Britain had pushed technology. They thought darkness gave them safety. Instead, it became the perfect background for a detection network that was waiting, listening, and watching long before they realized it existed.